So you're running Performance Max campaigns in Google Ads, but the results are flat. You're struggling, there's no growth, and you don't know what to do. Well, you're in the right place, because in today's video, I'm going to walk you through 5 advanced level Performance Max optimizations that you can apply to your e-commerce Google Ads campaigns to help you take your performance up a notch to that next level. Hi, if you're new here, my name is Daryl, and for the past 12 plus years, I've run a Google Ads agency called Big Flare. On this channel, I share my tips, tricks, and strategies that help you grow your e-commerce store with Google Ads. So stay tuned, because I'm going to show you the 5 most important PMax optimization strategies that can turn a flat and lifeless campaign into an outperforming winner. Now, these are the exact strategies I use on my clients at my agency and have spent literally millions of dollars to optimize and refine. So with that being said, let's hop right in. All right, guys, here we go. Here are the advanced PMax optimizations we're going to cover today. And first up, let's do something called profit curve bidding. And this is important for you to understand. So bear with me on this diagram, because this will really help you understand how PMax and Google Ads bid strategies really work. And the thing you really need to understand here is that your profit that you get from Google Ads, from your Performance Max campaigns, it follows this sort of bell curve relationship with your return on ad spend. So this is your gross profit after ad spend here. And as ROAS goes up, as you increase your target ROAS, you're going to get, at first, you're going to get more profit coming in, right? You've got your break-even point here, which can be calculated. And then you want to be aiming your ROAS somewhere above your break-even point, obviously, right? But how far above the break-even point do you go? If you go too high of a ROAS and you're at like point B, like this, then you're actually going to make less profit, because at this point, your revenue is coming down, right? Like as you keep raising your target ROAS, Google responds by reducing your cost per click bids. So all things being equal, as ROAS target goes up, CPC bids come down, which means you make less revenue, right? Now, at the beginning, the decrease in revenue that you make as your target ROAS goes up doesn't matter so much, because your profitability is going up faster than your revenue is coming down. So that's why there's this initial part of the bell curve. But if you keep raising your target ROAS, and if you keep trying to go too high with your target ROAS, you're going to come past this ROAS sweet spot where you maximize profit. You're going to end up somewhere like here. So profit curve bidding is basically the process of trying to figure out where is point A, where is point B, and where is my ROAS sweet spot. You don't want to be too high on your ROAS target, point B, because then you're going to get less profit and less revenue. You also don't want to be too low, right? I see some advertisers making this mistake of just going really low with their ROAS target because they get really excited by the higher revenue that you see when you run a lower ROAS target. But if you then calculate your profit, you'll end up with less profit than if you had found the sweet spot. So the whole idea here is to do testing so that you can find your ROAS sweet spot. There's only one ROAS target where you actually maximize your gross profit after ad spend, and finding that sweet spot is a very high leverage thing, a very high leverage optimization that you can do within Performance Max. So there's a couple of things you need to know here. Gross profit after ad spend, we are calculating that as revenue multiplied by your gross profit margin and then subtract cost, right? So like if GPM was 50% and you take your revenue, multiply it by 50%, subtract cost, and then you get the gross profit after ad spend number. And another thing to note is that points A, B, and ROAS sweet spot, this point, they cannot be calculated. The only thing that can be calculated is your break-even point. And your break-even point is calculated by taking 1 divided by your gross profit margin percentage. So if your gross profit margin percentage was 50%, for example, then your break-even ROAS is going to be 1 divided by 50%, which equals 200. So if your GPM is 50%, your break-even is 200, just 1 divided by 50%, 1 divided by 0.5. So that's how you calculate this point here, guys. And then to figure out where your ROAS sweet spot is, the only way to do it, you can't calculate it, you have to test. So here's how an example test might look. First of all, before you start testing this, you must be in stable times, as I put here. What do I mean by stable times? I mean, this testing has to be done in months or a quarter where your results are going to be fairly consistent. Like, you wouldn't want to do this in Q4 if you're like a lot of e-commerce businesses where you're going to expect like a really big November, a really big December. Those are like not normal times. You want to be testing this during months where you're expecting fairly consistent performance. And if you're a seasonal business, or if you've got a big sale going on, then that kind of invalidates your ability to test during that period. So pick some stable months, and then what you do is period 1, that could be a month, that could be a quarter. Period 1, you run your first ROAS target, right? And then you want to track your spend, your revenue, and your gross profit after ad spend. So let's say 350% ROAS is the first thing you test, and then you might find that you can spend 35K. And with the 350 ROAS, that equals a revenue of 122.5K, and profit after ad spend is this number here multiplied by your gross profit margin, subtract your ad spend. So you might end up finding that, okay, when we run a 350 ROAS target, we end up with about 26K profit at the end of the month, profit after ad spend. So then the next period, you test a different ROAS target, make it significantly different to this one. So you could test something higher, for example, like the next period, that might be month 2, we might test 500% ROAS. And remember, when you go higher with the ROAS target, the CPC bids are going to come down, so you're going to see less revenue. And you might end up finding something like, we were only able to spend 20K at this ROAS target. It was less revenue, but that's fine because what we really care about is profit. And hey, look, when we run the higher ROAS target, we actually make more profit overall, right? Seeing that, you then might go into period 3 testing an even higher ROAS target. You might test 750. These are just examples numbers. You've got to figure out the numbers that are worth testing for your business and your situation. But when you test 750, even higher ROAS target, you might see the spend come down further. You might see the revenue come down further. These things we don't mind too much because really what we're doing here is optimizing for profit. And then this would be the answer we were looking for, right? We might find, 750 ROAS target, it does 27.5K profit. So better than our 350 target, the 350 target, which maybe we thought was great because it was getting so much revenue, right? But when you do the testing like this, you end up finding, actually 750 is better, it makes more profit, but the sweet spot, the closest thing we have to the sweet spot here would be 500, right? That's where we got the most profit. And then like after that, period 4, period 5, we might test 550, then we might test 450. We might sort of start to zoom in on where do we really maximize this. Okay, we know 350 is too low, we know 750 is too high. After this, you could then do some more testing to see with a bit more precision, is it 550, is it 600, is it 450? Where do you really maximize your profit? All right, guys, next up, let's talk about pro-level campaign structuring. So one of the best things you can do if you're in a situation where your current campaign structure is just really basic and not working out for you and it's not set up to scale, is you can move to a better campaign structure if the situation calls for it. And this is really situation dependent. So I'm going to go through 3 different situations, 3 different scenarios, what those could look like and what a campaign structure for those scenarios would look like. First up, let's talk about gross profit margin tiers. So the situation where gross profit margin tiers as a campaign structure might apply for you is if your products vary a lot in terms of their gross profit margin percentage. So for example, if your gross profit margin on your products can vary from 30% on the low end up to 70% on the high end, that amount of variability, that's a lot of variability, and that could dictate a gross profit margin based campaign structure in PMax being the optimal setup for you. If your GPMs were like 40% to 50%, then that's close enough and you don't really need to segment your campaign structure by gross profit margin tiers. So this is really only if you have very variable GPMs, right? And if that is your case, then what you do is you can set up a campaign structure based on those gross profit margin tiers. So remember that your break-even return on ad spend is 1 divided by your gross profit margin percentage, right? That's important to remember, because then you realize, all my products with my really variable gross profit margins, they all have different break-even points, right? Like your 30% margin products, they are going to break even at 333% ROAS. 50% margin products are going to break even at 200% ROAS. And then 70% margin products, they would break even at 142. And this is why gross profit margin tiered structures can work really well if you're in this situation, because your high margin products, they might profit maximize at say a ROAS of 300%, right? Like maybe these guys, you want to give them a target ROAS of 300% 300%, and maybe that's the sweet spot for them. Maybe that's where they maximize. Whereas if you had that same ROAS target on these guys, on your low margin product, if these were running at 300% ROAS, you'd be losing money. That's below the break-even point. So that is why we have this structure for this specific situation, if this situation applies to you. The profit curve that I just explained to you, it's actually fractal. So get your head around this, guys. It's like your account as an overall account in Google Ads, it has an average profit curve that maybe looks something like that. But within that profit curve, there's lots of smaller profit curves, and your different margin tiers for your products will profit maximize and will break even at different points. So what I showed you just now was how, high margin products might have a lower break-even point, low margin products will have a higher break-even point. And because of that, because they have different break-even points, they also have different profit maximization points. So once you segment out your campaign structure like this, you aim each margin tier at something higher than the break-even point, and then you can do that same testing I described before, but you can do it at the product margin tier level to see where you maximize profit for each product margin tier. Okay, so that was gross profit margin tiers. The other big main campaign structure that can work in a lot of other scenarios, if you have enough conversion volume, you need a decent amount of conversion volume to segment your campaigns like this. And if your gross profit margin percentages are pretty consistent, right? Like maybe it's 40 to 50%, or maybe everything's exactly the same. Maybe everything is 45%, right? Then you don't need to segment campaigns by gross profit margin tiers. And what might work better for you is a ROAS performance-based campaign structure. So what do I mean by that? What I mean is you take your product data for the products that are running in Performance Max, and then you create a ROAS threshold, and then you create a cost threshold. So you might say past 90 days, and then you might say ROAS threshold is 400%, and then you might say cost threshold is $100, right? So everything above the ROAS threshold, above the 400% or whatever threshold you're using, and above the cost threshold, we would call those high ROAS products, winner products, profitable products, whatever you want to call them, that's up to you. But let's just call them here high ROAS products, right? So these products go into one campaign for the high ROAS products, and that's based on their previous ROAS performance. And then you've got low ROAS products. These are the products that are above a certain spend threshold, but below your ROAS threshold. So these guys are generally dragging down your overall performance, and we pull them out into their own campaigns so that you can get their ROAS higher, right? And in terms of cost threshold, you want to just set something where things above this cost threshold, we would consider that's a significant amount of spend, right? There's no point in looking at a product that only spent $5. Like if a product spent $5 and it had a high ROAS, right? Well, it only spent $5. So this data is not significant. It's not statistically significant enough if that product only spent $5. And that is why we have a cost threshold, because what we're saying is we want a reasonable cost threshold above which we think any products above this cost threshold, they have enough data that we can actually say, yes, that's a high ROAS product. Yes, that's a low ROAS product. And then anything that's below your cost threshold, again, let's just use an example of $100 past 90 days. We would call those low spend products, right? Some of them are going to have high ROAS, some of them are going to have low ROAS, but each individual product has low spend. So it's kind of just like luck of the draw, whether they have high ROAS or low ROAS. So we need to treat these as one campaign. And then the final campaign you would have is your zombies. And this is something you're going to see in almost every Performance Max e-commerce campaign. There'll be a bunch of products that just got zero spend. They're not being tested at all. And this campaign structure helps you get these products tested, because now what we have is a campaign for low ROAS, a campaign for high ROAS, a campaign for your low spend products, and a campaign for your zombies. And we treat each of these product groups differently based on which campaign they have fallen into. So what you want to do with high ROAS products is these products will have a naturally high ROAS. These are your top performers. And what you're going to do with these products is you actually lower the target ROAS. So look at their previous performance, maybe past 90 days on average, these guys got an average ROAS of, I don't know, let's say they got an average ROAS of 700% in your previous data set. So going forwards, the new high ROAS products campaign, you would actually lower the target ROAS and you would go for something like 600%. Maybe 550%, right? The main thing here is whatever is their previous average return on ad spend that they were getting before you created this campaign structure. You create this campaign structure and then you lower the ROAS target. Why? The reason for that is Google will now be able to spend more on these products. These are your winning products, these are your high ROAS products, and if you lower the ROAS target, you get more volume on these products. Google will bid higher on the CPC. The ROAS will be a bit lower, 600 versus 700 or whatever it is for you, but it's still really profitable, right? Like maybe this advertiser breaks even at 200%. So it's totally fine to sacrifice a bit of ROAS here, come down to 600 instead of 700 in order to spend more on these products. And then it's kind of the reverse thinking for low ROAS products, right? Like these ones, maybe their average ROAS previously was just like 300%, right? And maybe that's just like not good enough. Like maybe you break even at 300, maybe this isn't even making money. So the goal with this campaign, once those low ROAS products are in their own campaign, the goal is to raise the target ROAS, and you might raise it up to 400%. You might raise it up to 450%. The whole goal is to tell Google, hey, I need a higher ROAS on these products. Let's reduce the bids. It's going to reduce the spend a little bit, but it's going to increase the ROAS. And then you've got your low spend products and your zombie products. So what you do with these guys is break them out into their own campaigns. So you have a low spend campaign and you have a zombies campaign. And the goal here is to not run a target ROAS. So your low ROAS and your high ROAS campaigns are running a target ROAS, and the target ROAS you set is dependent on the average ROAS they were getting previously. With low spend and zombies though, you're going to run maximize conversion value as your bid strategy. Don't implement a target ROAS, and same for your zombies. And with your low spend products, what you do is you want to look at what was their previous average daily spend. So for this group of products, maybe past 90 days, they spent on average $100 per day, right? So the goal with these products is just to spend a bit more per product so that hopefully we can get enough volume so that then they can be graduated into the low ROAS products campaign or the high ROAS products campaign, right? So these guys here, we want to increase their average daily spend a bit, and then some of these products are going to start graduating either into there or into there, depending on what happens with their ROAS once they spend a bit more. So what you do with the spend then is you look at the average daily spend previously, let's say it was $100. So then you put a daily budget of 150 or maybe 200. You raise the daily spend on these products while running no target ROAS and a maximize conversion value bid strategy. And then that allows the system to actually test a bit more on these products and see whether they should be living in the low ROAS campaign or the high ROAS campaign. And a similar approach for zombies, no target ROAS in this campaign, just run them as a maximize conversion value campaign with no target ROAS. And this will then force the system to spend on these products, and you will actually find that some of these products might become a winner. Some of them might become a low ROAS product campaign, or they may go into the high ROAS. But the main thing to note here is that currently, with your current campaigns set up, there's all these zombies not spending at all, not testing at all. And when we have them in their own campaign, with maximized conversion value bidding and a reasonable daily budget, you force spend onto these products, and then you can actually test them and see if they perform for you. So their average daily spend previously was 0, right? So just anything higher than 0 is your daily budget. So your daily budget then might be 100 or whatever works for you in your business, considering like how much money you have to test all of this stuff. Okay, and then finally, we have the simplified ROAS performance structure. So this is like a really simple version of this one here. And this is one that's kind of safer to move to and easier to move to if you just want to do something a bit simpler that at least fixes those low ROAS products that were dragging down your average and they were below break-even point. And what you want to do with the simplified ROAS performance structure is really just look for those products that have significant spend and low ROAS. And when I say significant spend, you could think about maybe 3 to 4x your AOV and look for things that are spending that much but haven't got a good ROAS. Look at their ROAS and look for products that are below break even. Then you put those products into their own campaign and set a higher ROAS target. this is a bit easier to visualize if I actually show you a real world example. So here we are in a Performance Max campaign, and I'm just going to set a really long date range. Let's look at all time data, and then you can run a filter, right? So we'll do a cost filter, and we'll do 3 to 4x my average AOV. So in this case, for this account, it might be, let's say 300. Okay. And then now we do another filter for ROAS is less than, and we look for stuff that's below my break-even point. So let's say, for example, in this account, our break-even point is at 3. We need everything to be above a 3x ROAS. And there you have a group of products that are spending a decent amount. So this spend tells us that we can trust that ROAS. This ROAS is real, right? If the product had only spent 10 bucks and its ROAS was below break-even, well, that's just luck of the draw. We need to look at products that have actually spent enough for significant data. And then we find, yeah, a bunch of products that are spending significantly and are consistently below our break-even point. So this simplified ROAS performance structure is just keep your current campaign structure, but just segment out these guys, put these guys into their own campaign, give this campaign a ROAS target of say 400, 500, make sure it's high enough so that all the products then go above your break-even point. And then what happens is you will have taken products that are dragging money away and losing money for you in your Performance Max campaigns, and then you can turn them into money-making products because the separate campaign will have a high ROAS target, Google will bid lower, and your ROAS will go up, and then these losers will actually become profitable. All right, guys, next up, let's talk about shopping dupes. So shopping dupes, what does that mean? Imagine you've got your product here in Google Merchant Center. All your products are nice and listed in Google Merchant Center, and hopefully you've got nicely optimized product titles in there. Shopping dupes is where we take individual products, a group of products, or all the products, or maybe just the top selling products, and then you duplicate those products within your product feeds. So whatever tool you're using to create and manage your product feed, you'll have the ability within that tool, if it's a decent enough tool, to just duplicate the product and then change the item ID. So this is important. Previously, the item ID was this, and then in the duplicated product, we're going to change the item ID to just something else. We'll probably keep the same ID, but just add a dash dupe at the end. And then what Google sees is a new product ID. So Google now treats this product listing as a totally new product. It just thinks this is a completely different product, even though everything about the product is the same. Once you change the item ID, Google recognizes this as a different product, even if everything is the same. Now, once you've done the changing of the item ID, you don't just leave everything the same, you change one of two things. And what we'll normally do is first start with title changes. So you can see here in this title, we were going for curly fern bread warmer basket, terracotta bread warmer. And then in the duplicated item ID, we're going to target new keywords and see if those new keywords can get us better performance, get us more conversions, target new keywords that we weren't potentially targeting before. So then we might go for artisan bread basket with warming stone, rustic, seagrass bread. So the idea here is by duplicating your items using shopping dupes and changing the item ID, you get a second chance, a second product title to try new keyword ideas with. Or you can also use this to test images, which is another thing that's really good to do. Just duplicate the item, change the item ID, and if you're not testing titles, you can test different images, and you'll often see that just really simple image changes, like for example, maybe having a human model in the photo where they're using the product, or maybe more of a lifestyle type of product image, you can often get significantly better CTR out of those different images. So shopping dupes allows us to do that kind of testing for our images and or our product titles and milk extra performance out of our Performance Max campaigns as a result. By the way, if you're really struggling with your Google ads and you are ready to have a professional team come and take over management for you, well then look no further than my agency, Big Flare. We've generated over $150 million in revenue from Google ads for our clients, and we regularly get return on ad spends in excess of 500%. So if you're in need of professional help, then feel free to reach out to me via the link in the description below this video. You'll be able to hop on a Zoom call with me personally, and I'll be able to do you a free, no obligation Google ads audit as a first step. So if that sounds interesting, then link is in the description below, and I hope to hear from you soon. All right, guys, next up, let's talk about product feed mastery. There's a lot of fields in your product feed, right? So how do you know what's the most important to optimize? Where should you focus your time? Now, in an ideal world, you have fully optimized every single field within your product feed, because it's really your product feeds that drives a lot of your e-commerce performance within Performance Max or standard shopping campaigns if you're using that campaign type. But there's three things that you really need to focus on within your product feeds that count for the lion's share of performance that comes from your product. And those three things are your titles, your images, and your product type. So get these things right first, and then you can think about optimizing the rest of your feed. But if you're really just going to focus on the three things that matter most, it's these three things. So let's talk about product titles. And what I wanted to tell you about product titles, guys, is whatever you do, don't do this. So this is just an example that I found online earlier. This is a shopping result. I was looking for a new tower fan, and this product title here just says tower fan. So don't do that. That makes me sad. That will make you sad when you don't see the performance levels that you could be achieving from Performance Max due to your poor product titles. You need to have these product titles well optimized and filled with keywords, right? You can go up to 150 characters in your product titles, and you want to use that 150 characters to really stuff in as many high value keywords as you can manage. So this would be a much better example of a title for that particular product. We might say best tower fan with remote for bedroom, tall, quiet stand-up fan, 5 speeds, 3 modes, 12-hour timer, smart floor, fan, Walmart. So what you can see there, I've highlighted in blue all the keywords that I'm getting in here, keywords that people might be searching for within this product niche. And then we've also got some attribute information, stuff that might be important to the user. They don't necessarily search for this, but it might be important for them to know. And this, I can guarantee you that this title would perform a whole lot better and get way more sales and better ROAS than this title here. So if you're going to do one thing with your product feed, product titles are it. Make sure they are well optimized. Now, a process you can follow is do keyword research with Google Keyword Planner tool. So go into your Google Ads account, go into Google Keyword Planner and start punching in your main keywords, and then see what Google suggests as other high volume keywords within your niche. Look for things that are really relevant to your product that also get good search volume, and aim to get all of those things into your product title so that it starts to look a bit more like this. Another place you can search for high quality keywords to include within your titles is the top converting terms in your search terms report. So within your campaign, if you come to search terms here, you can rank by conversions, or you can rank by clicks, you can rank by CTR. I'll often start by ranking by conversions. And then what you want to do is look for keyword ideas in here that get a good amount of conversions and a good ROAS, or cost per acquisition. And there you have more keyword ideas for things that should really be inside your title if you want to be specifically targeting the keywords that actually drive relevant sales for you. And then yeah, finally, you just stuff your title full of keywords. You can separate different sections using punctuation like this. I like to use the pipe. You can also use dashes to separate it out. But yeah, the next step here is just a bit of good old-fashioned keyword stuffing in your title. It works, it's good. This is what you want to do for shopping ads and for Performance Max. So definitely, guys, 150 characters, use as much of that limit as you can by stuffing as many good keywords into your title as possible. Now, there are some practical limitations here, right? Like, what if you've got thousands of product SKUs? What I then normally recommend doing is, for your best sellers, manually optimize them, right? And to help you with that, you've got a custom GPT here. So here's the link, bigflare.com/LP product optimizer AI. I'm going to put the link in the description below this video. I do have a custom GPT that helps you manually optimize your top selling product titles. And I recommend you do that manually for your top selling products if you've got thousands of SKUs. And then for everything else, if you've got thousands of SKUs, it's maybe not realistic to think that you can manually optimize all of them. So then what you do is use a bit of AI automation rules or a good tool to help you automatically optimize the rest of your product SKUs. I do have a product recommendation here. I'm not affiliated with these guys. I'm not getting paid to recommend them. I just like them. They've got a good product and they've got a good solution for what to do with optimizing your titles when you've got thousands of SKUs. These guys will allow you to use AI, automation, and rules to very quickly optimize the product titles of all the rest of your products. And so they've just got a really good user-friendly interface for doing quick AI-based product title optimization. Again, manually optimize your top selling products and use a tool, for example, Product Hero or whatever tool you want to use, to help you speed up the process for all the other thousands of SKUs if you're in the situation where you've got thousands of SKUs that need optimizing. Okay, next up, product images. So here's an example of where everyone in shopping is doing exactly the same thing. So this is that same example I showed you before. They're all just doing the general Google best practice of plain product on a white background, product is on its own. And if I saw this, if I saw my competitors doing this and these were the results that I was getting when searching for my products, I would be thinking, I need to test this image and I need to do something different. For example, like one of the other images that they've already got against this product in shopping is this image here with a model using the product. We've actually got a human inside the image, and I'm not saying this exact image would work better. I would probably do a version of it where the product is a bit bigger, maybe the model's a little bit smaller, but the general idea here is test your images, do something different to what everyone else is doing, and if you see everyone doing exactly the same thing, then this is your opportunity to test something like this to stand out from the crowd and improve your click-through rate. Yeah, boring white background is an okay place to start your Performance Max testing and Google Ads campaigns. Like something like this is an ideal starting point, right? But you want to then split test it against different types of images. For example, you might have lifestyle images, or you might have images featuring a model, or you might have images of the product in use, or you might have different backgrounds or settings. These are all things you can test. Don't just assume that the plain white background is the best performer for you, because often it is not, and you need to test different styles of images to figure out which one is going to get you the best CTR. And this does have a measurably large impact on your overall performance within your Performance Max campaigns. And finally, we have the product type. So product type is a field available within your product feed. Here's how it looks in Google Merchant Center. And the main mistake that I see a lot of businesses making here is not even filling out their product type, or they might just have like one word in their product type, like tower fan. And what you can actually do here is create a 4-level deep product type, and then again, stuff it with keywords. So if I was doing product type optimization for that tower fan product that we were just looking at, I would have something like this. I would start really broad with home appliances and accessories, and then you separate it into different levels with this symbol here. And the next level, temperature, cooling, and climate control, then standing, turning fans, and then best smart tower fans with remote. So again, we're just using this as an opportunity to get lots of good, relevant, high volume keywords in. We start broad and then narrow down in terms of specificity. And the reason we do this is because after the product title, guys, in your product feed, it's product type that seems to have the biggest impact on what keywords you show up for. After product title, product title is definitely the biggest impact in terms of telling Google which keywords you want to show for. But product type is the next thing down the list, where you can input keywords into Google to tell it what you want to target and actually have an impact on your overall results. So product type optimization, definitely want to make sure this is sorted out for all your products, and especially for your top selling products. Finally, guys, we have product ratings. So product ratings are these guys here. They are the review stars that you can see on your shopping ads. So Performance Max is going to be showing a bunch of shopping ads for you. It's probably going to be relying almost entirely on shopping ads for the performance that it's getting you. And within shopping ads, after we've taken care of our titles and we've got a good image, then the next thing you really want to look at in terms of showcasing like to consumers why they should pick you over your competitors is collecting good reviews and making sure those reviews actually show on your shopping ads. And we do this with product ratings. So you've got two options here. Essentially, you need to be collecting your product reviews in the first place, and then you need to be feeding those reviews into Google Merchant Center so that Google knows to show them on your products. So you've got two options when it comes to collecting your product reviews. You've got either a third-party aggregator or you've got Google customer reviews. And these are two different options because third-party aggregators are generally going to be a paid solution. So you need to pay in order to use one of these guys, but you'll get a lot more control and you'll just have a general better experience than when using Google Customer Reviews. Google Customer Reviews is the free option that you get from Google. You don't really get any control over your negative reviews with this, and it's quite fiddly to set up, but hey, it's free. So if you're going to go down the paid options, which I recommend for most of my clients, there's a few options here that many of my clients use that I can recommend. You've got Ekendo, Judge.me, Stamps.io, all of these options are fine. All of them are paid services though, and they do come at different price points. So one thing I can tell you, Judge.me is really popular with a lot of my clients because this here, they are cheap, 15 bucks per month, pretty cheap, okay? So these are one of the more cost-effective third-party aggregator solutions that you can use, Judge.me. Just one thing you have to be aware of with Judge.me is it doesn't have Google seller ratings, okay? So actually there's two types of product ratings that you can get. You've got Google product ratings, and these are the ones that show on your shopping ads. And then you've got seller ratings, and these actually just show on your search ads. And these ratings are for your whole store rather than for a specific product. So Judge.me, it's cheap, but just so you know, it can only do product ratings at time of shooting this video, and for the past few years, they've never been able to do Google seller ratings. So if you do go with Judge.me for the cheap 15 bucks per month option, and if you do also want to have seller ratings enabled, you're going to need to also set up Google customer reviews, right? So Judge.me, if you want to have both of these things, it's going to be a double setup. You're going to set up Judge.me, 15 bucks per month, then you're also going to have to set up Google seller ratings anyway, which is free and a bit fiddly to set up. And that is if you also want to get the seller ratings on your search ads, which I do also recommend you do as well. Ekendo is another option. It's a fair bit more expensive than Judge.me. It's $119 per month for their growth plan, and then you end up paying a bit extra for adding on the seller ratings, right? I think it's an extra 25 bucks for the seller ratings. I can't remember the exact amount, but it's something in that region. It's been a while since I asked them for an update on this. But yeah, it's a fair chunk more expensive than if you just went with Judge.me at 15 bucks per month. But the main advantage with Ekendo or with the other options available, Stamp.io, Yotpo, Trusted Reviews, all those guys, they're going to be more expensive than Judge.me, but they are going to give you product ratings and seller ratings in one place. So you end up paying more, but you don't have to also set up Google customer reviews if you want to get your seller ratings as well. So something like Ekendo is going to get you both this, and this all in one place without having to do multiple setups. And Ekendo is one of the cheaper options that I found if you want the product ratings and the seller ratings in the same place. Again, if you're fine with doing a bit more of a manual setup, then you can just do Judge.me, which is cheaper, and then get your seller ratings filled by Google customer reviews. So let's just show you how to enable all this stuff in Google Merchant Center. Okay guys, so in Google Merchant Center, if you haven't set up product ratings and Google customer reviews before, what you're going to want to do is come down here to add-ons. So under settings, then you've got add-ons. So click on add-ons, and then in here, you're going to be able to find Google customer reviews. So this is where you add that on if you want to enable Google's free customer review widget that collects reviews for you for free. And then product ratings, you're probably going to need to first submit a product ratings interest form like that. And then you'll be able to add it in to your Google Merchant Center setup. Now, once you've added Google customer reviews and product reviews into your Google Merchant Center setup, then you'll be able to click here under products and store, come to reviews, and then you'll be able to see Google customer reviews here and product reviews over here. With your product reviews, you can now manage your product review sources. So this is now where you would want to connect your third-party aggregator. So let's say you're running with Judge.me, you'll be able to export a feed from Judge.me, and then you want to connect it here under product product reviews, manage product review sources. This is where you want to connect it so that your reviews then start flowing from judge.me or your third-party review aggregator into your Google Merchant Center. Once it's flowing into your Google Merchant Center, you'll be able to see all the reviews totaled up here, and you'll start showing reviews on your shopping ads. So here we are in a different account where this has all already been set up, and this is what it will look like once those reviews are all fed into product reviews in Google Merchant Center. When you see this all coming up, then you are now eligible to be showing those review stars on your shopping ads. And for Google customer reviews, once you see it here under the reviews page, you're then going to get the notification up here to set up integration. So then you just have to follow the directions that Google gives you here. It's going to be a bit fiddly to set up, and if you're not very technically minded, you might need to get help from your website developer, but at least this one is free, right? So this is the option to take if you want to be as low budget as possible and avoid the more expensive third-party options. Now, there's one Performance Max optimization that I didn't mention yet because I talked about it recently on a different video in a lot more detail. And that is this video right up here, where I show you how to steal traffic from your top competitors. One of the strategies I show you in that video is a way to get your PMax campaign to target your competitors specifically. If you enjoyed this video, I think you're going to love this one up here, and you should go check that one out next. All right, guys, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you on the next one.